gonna laugh. I might cry and I'm gonna wanna tell you why, because hey, well that's just life. So do-do-do, do-do-do-do, 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 do you, and I will do me. Ew. Okay, for real.
Right. Hi world, it's Jengwin. Welcome to Ill For Real, a podcast where life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And this is where you come in, damn it, and you say, I love you, Jenny. I need a lot of love this episode. So this week you're gonna get I'm still riding the high, a little bit of an adrenaline rush pumping through my veins right now. If you've been following my socials, you might know what I'm about to talk about. But it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. To get into today's episode, last week, a little bit of a recap. I had kind of teased you guys with like, oh, that was the worst thing that I had experienced the past week. So it was like 2 weeks ago. Now, I always start the podcast with worst and best parts of the week. And to recap that week, all right, let me calm down a little bit. Not only had I received some bad news that my grandpa in Indiana has wound up again in the hospital and he's not doing well, so I have to plan a trip to Indiana. And there's a lot of drama and chaos and just ridiculousness happening in my family right now, and I'm absolutely dreading planning a trip home to see my grandpa because I kind of like want to put like all of my family members in their place. And I have a little bit of a savior complex, so just the shit that is happening right now when you have a grandparent like dying in a hospital is so ridiculous. It's just not what a family should be acting like, and this is why I have removed myself and left my hometown. Today is my grandpa's birthday, and I plan to be in Indiana to see him, and I have procrastinated packing or driving there. My car is really freaking cold to drive in the winter because the floor vents don't work, so my feet freeze and my legs shake while I drive. And I am just frozen with like crippling anxiety because I do not want to. They're gonna hear from me. I don't want to get involved, but I'm about to get involved because it's just absolutely insane. You guys know family drama is ridiculous. But that was some bad news that I had gotten, and the thing I was struggling with most when I recorded last week's episode, this one is going to be a little bit late. Obviously, I try to upload on Sundays or Mondays, but it is Tuesday now. But tonight, I just need to calm down a little bit because of the events that happened this week. Last episode, what I was talking about, my worst part of the week was seeing the comments on the clips that We're All Insane podcast posted across social, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. I don't pay any mind to troll comments, and I don't care what people think of me or say about me when it's not people like in my life. If it's someone I love or care about, or they're a friend or a close family member, like, yeah, obviously everybody cares about what people think about them. But when it comes to strangers on the internet and just absolute trolls, it is never like, it doesn't affect me in that way. I don't care if somebody's going to judge my looks or whatever. Usually I just troll them back. I'll make a funny video response to their comments of them thinking that they're getting to me, But regarding my episode with We're All Insane, my videos that I posted, not about the affair and me talking about the situation with John and everything like that, but the portions of the video that were shared, especially on TikTok, I've normally had a really, really great experience. People on TikTok I think are wonderful. But when I was talking about the sexual assault story when a cop took advantage of me, when I say more than 90% of the comments were absolute horrendousness, I am not exaggerating. I don't know if you saw the comments at all or if you're going to go look or whatever, but be prepared because I am talking about how a cop took advantage of me when I was intoxicated, Just having a fun, innocent night out with my friends, and people putting the blame on me and telling me that it's my fault because I got into a cop car when I had already been in the car with my friends. Sorry, Taquito's making a lot of noise in the back. And the cop wasn't giving us like weird, like nasty, creepy, scary vibes or anything. Like, we felt safe, and he's a cop. So when I went to spin around a little joyride with a cop, I was not thinking he was going to put a bulletproof vest over my arms, take me out of the car, push me into the back seat, and literally try to assault me. So I'm telling this story, and the comments there, I'm like shaking right now. It is so disgusting. I cannot believe, most of them are men, obviously, but a lot of comments were from women blaming me. And I don't want to, like, people are very, very sensitive these days, and I am not like that. I don't take much to heart. I don't take offense to anything. I like dark humor. I like dry humor. But the victim blaming, I hate to use that term, but that's what it is. The victim blaming in these comment sections, it makes me so sad, because there were dozens of people in the comments who did believe me, saying, this is exactly why I'm not going to ever tell my mom what happened to me. This is why I don't tell my story of what happened. This is why I will never come out about being molested or raped or whatever. And that is so horrible, because it happens so much more than we know. And it's sad that it's as common as it is, but it was pretty rough. Like, that, it didn't send me quite into a spiral, but I had like a couple panic attacks, anxiety attacks, maybe some would call it a mental breakdown, to where I was just crying, like I was sobbing, and I have not cried that hard in a long time. The John stuff does stir up a lot of emotions, and I think my heart will always be broken from those things that happened to me. Obviously you can heal, but the wound is never fully healed. But when it comes to the sexual assault thing, I just couldn't believe my eyes. Having to read those, and obviously I didn't have to, but like, you're curious and you want to know what like people are saying about you in an instance where it's as serious and as sensitive of a topic as it was. That was the worst part of my week, actually. I have since calmed down a little bit since then. Internet trolls are just going to continue being trolls, but the problem with it wasn't just trolling comments. Like, people genuinely, they weren't trolling me. They were saying their honest thoughts, that why would you get into a car if you're in a relationship with someone, as if I was like going into a cop car ready to cheat on my fiance or something. And not only did I mention, like, this man was absolutely not attractive. I've posted his mugshot on Instagram so people could see, like, even if he was attractive, I did not get into a car thinking, I'm gonna be assaulted by a cop, can't wait, we do it again. Like, obviously, if I could go back into time, I would never, ever put myself in that car. I would not let me and my friends go into the car and have fun. And now looking back, like, yeah, you don't trust anyone. And I've always lived like that. Like, you don't trust anyone. You be careful in any situation. But I'm a grown woman. He's a grown man, married with kids, working as a security officer in front of a bar where you're protecting women by not letting them be taken advantage of coming out of a bar intoxicated and things like that. Like, that is literally his job. He was a security officer at a bar protecting the people. And then he did that shit to me. And for people to say, like, legitimately, it's my fault. And I deserved it. And again, multiple comments, that's why your husband cheated. Like, you're just a fucking cheater. And that's why he did what he did. Like, that is very, very, very hard to read. I was not well. I was not okay. But speaking of, we're all insane. To get to the lighter portion, this week, let's see, worst and best. Worst part of this week is probably just dealing with all the family drama that's going back home. And again, the difficulty of going into the holidays, like being alone and things like that. I think I mentioned either last episode or somewhere on Instagram that I was really struggling with being alone for Thanksgiving, and I ended up, that was probably the worst part, but I ended up having a good night because I had some friends in town that I'm getting closer to, and we spent some time together, and it was just good. It was better than I was anticipating for Thanksgiving. But in recent days, I guess it's not the best part of my week, but it was like just a a good part. That restaurant that I work for, my boss and the owner, she wanted to put on a little event for the hunters that come into town for hunting season. So they call it the Hunters Ball, and it's like a tradition from like years and years ago. And she wanted to bring back like a fun, like interactive, like game kind of thing to do just for people to like enjoy themselves. So she's like, let's do speed dating. And we were all just like sitting at the bar, me and 3 other girls, and we're talking about all these ideas about how we're going to have this speed dating event. And I've only seen it like in movies, you know, none of us have ever done this. We didn't know what to expect, but she kind of came up with like a list of little rules. She had us all like write down some important questions. You're going to have 3 rounds. You're going to you're gonna ask a certain amount of questions in the first round, and then when the musician takes another break, we'll have another round. You choose your top 5 guys and ask them a different set of questions, and then round 3, your top 3 guys, you ask them a different set of questions, and it's very, very quick. It was like 15-20 minutes like all together, but the rounds were like a minute or less. And so, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin. So I've recently gotten back onto like dating apps and sites. I'm sure maybe you saw my parody that I wrote about it. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's always going to be the worst part of my week is freaking dating apps. So I had matched with a couple of guys like in my area-ish, and I was like, I'm going to send them the link to this speed dating thing and invite them to come and be like, hey, I'm one of the bachelorettes. If you want to have a quick little date with me, I think it would be funny, like a hilarious way to meet someone. So I sent the link to like a handful of guys on Facebook dating, and none of them, like some of them were like, no, I'd rather go on just a regular date with you. I was like, okay, cool, bet, like sure, later on, but like I'm gonna be busy and I am a bachelorette at this event, so I have to go speed dating, unfortunately. And one of the guys was like, hey, are you doing that speed dating thing tonight? It was like the day of or something. And I was like, I am. I'm getting ready for tonight. And he's like, I'm coming. And I was like, what? I literally did not expect anybody to respond to that, want to come. Like I said, the other guys were like, oh, that's weird. Are you a bot? Like, are you trolling me or whatever? It was pretty funny. But this one guy said that he would come. So we were supposed to start at 9, but it was running late because all of us girls are always running late. And it started around 10 o'clock. And I saw this guy when he walked into the bar, and I could recognize him from Facebook dating. And I'm walking around. My boss, Nicole's like, Jenny, go recruit people. There's like a ton of guys here. And this is probably the only time where there will be this many women, let alone in the area, but at the bar itself. Like, if they want a chance to, like, date a hot bachelorette, like, get them to sign up. So I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm, like, embarrassed. And I wore, like, you know, something sexy or whatever. So I'm walking around the bar trying to, like, recruit guys who are sitting there. The ones who are, like, married and they're like, no, I'm already taken. I'm like, good for you. Good answer, you know. And I'm trying to get people to sign up. There were 2 people on the roster at this point. And eventually we got 20 guys to sign up. So I'm walking around the bar and I can see this guy, he walked in, and I just kind of like, I wasn't ignoring him, but I was just like trying not to be like, oh my God, are you so-and-so from Facebook dating? You know? So passing the clipboard around, we start an hour late. It was chaos. It was crazy. It was not enough time to get to know anybody at all. I was asking like pretty normal, I'm serious about dating, so like not super serious, but like legit questions that you would ask somebody on a speed dating round. And I had another one of my friends there. All of her questions were like, are you a murderer, a psychopath, or a child molester, serial killer? Her very first question that she asked the guys was, what's your favorite sex position? So it's like very like across the board different options for girls. And we had, I think I was the youngest one at age 33, and our oldest bachelorette was like 60, or 69 or something like that. But it was fun. It was interesting. I had some of the guys like take a selfie with me, and we had to choose like our top 3 or whatever. So we give them our phone number at the end of the night, and if they want to reach out, they can, to take us on a date. Obviously, like, this guy drove an hour to come meet me in person from my link on Facebook dating, and I was like, I can't just like not let this guy like have time with me tonight, you know. I felt bad, so I gave him my number, and we ended up going out for drinks after speed dating, and we got to know each other and stuff a little bit more. He was gentleman, opened the door, like was just up for anything with me, and didn't try to kiss me or anything that night, like very respectful. I found out he's like the oldest of 4 siblings, and all 3 of his younger siblings are girls, so he's like a big brother, protective of his sisters or whatever. So it was good and everything. I like don't know how I feel at this point, you know. I feel like I kind of put everybody into a friend box, like until I really, really get to know them better. And I don't want to like friend zone people. I feel bad, but like that's just how I am. Very guarded, very jaded. So I'm like, I don't know how I feel. Like, is there going to be, you know, physical chemistry and an emotional connection, whatever. So he asks me for another date, and that was Saturday. So we went on a date Monday, which is yesterday for me right now. And through our text messages, he's like, so how are we doing this? Are we meeting up? Are you coming out to my area? Because he drove a long way to come to the speed dating. And he was like, what do you feel like doing? And I'm like, I don't know, just think like, he's like, what's your ideal date? And I'm like, probably something just like casual, not super fancy. Like dinner and a movie sounds like really boring. You have to stare at someone while you're eating, and I don't know, just like something chill, like probably something competitive. Like if I can like beat your ass at something, like I'm gonna beat your ass. Like I'll take you. Let's bowl, let's do something, you know, active in a way. And so luckily, I mean, I love surprises. He wasn't telling me what he was planning, which is good. So it was a surprise. And I go to his place. He's getting ready, comes out. He drives us in his car and starts headed to our date that he had planned, which I loved already. I was like, I'm not planning shit for these guys anymore. So he takes me on the car, and we're driving, and I'm just like in the middle of a conversation, not even paying attention to where we're going. I wasn't looking out the windows off into the distance like, where is he headed? Nothing. We pull up, which I guess I could say this was the quote unquote worst part of my week, but it wasn't, because it was the worst and the best, which is funny because that's what I do here on the podcast. Worst and best. Get it out of your system. Vent. At some point, I look up from my phone, and right in front of me, the windshield outside the front window, I see huge, gigantic letters on a building, and it says Dave & Buster's. Was not expecting that at all. If you're new here, or if you haven't listened to my episode on We're All Insane, long story short, I drove more than an hour one time to Illinois and caught my ex-husband cheating on me in a Dave & Buster's parking lot. He was having sex with a girl, his coworker, in the back of her car, and I watched the car, having a gut feeling that it was them having sex. Not getting out because I didn't know who it was. I wasn't sure if it was actually her car. They pull up into the front of a Dave & Buster's. He gets out of the passenger side car. That's when it was confirmed. I literally just watched as my husband had sex with someone in a car in a Dave & Buster's parking lot. So I'm chasing him out of the car, chasing her. She's looking at me like giving me a smirk in the car window, wouldn't open the window, wouldn't talk to me, nothing. She runs over my foot in a Dave & Buster's parking lot. So then I start running to his car. He's leaving me stranded in the parking lot. Pouring rain, my car is dead. I'm stuck in another state in which I don't live, and he's trying to leave me stranded in Dave & Buster's. And so I ended up like opening the back car of his pickup truck and squeezing myself through the window. And, we're screaming and fighting the whole way home. Eventually, I had to have somebody give me a ride back to my car at the Dave & Buster's the next day. But it was very, very, very traumatizing. That's just a very short version of the story. But this was after years and years and years of me loving arcade games. I love me some Galaga. Always wanted to go to a Dave & Buster's. I love a good laser tag, go-kart, bowling alley, arcade. I love it. Always wanted to go. He would never take me. It's stupid, it's lame. Who the fuck goes to Dave & Buster's? Blah, blah, blah. Never was interested in taking me to Dave & Buster's. And I was never mad or fighting with him about it. I was just like, why can't we go? Let's just go to Dave & Buster's and have fun. And he wouldn't take me. But apparently he was going with her after work a handful of times and playing games with her, walking around Dave & Buster's as if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, drinking. I didn't even know that Dave & Buster's has a bar and food. We walked. I had no idea that Dave & Buster's was like that. So after hearing the stories of what my ex-husband was doing, and then catching them in the parking lot doing that after my whole life wanting to go to a Dave & Buster's, I was like, I will never, ever go to a fucking Dave & Buster's. Don't take me there. I don't want to see the name. I don't want to hear about it. Fucking arcade game. We'll go play arcade games somewhere else, anywhere but Dave & Buster's. I will never go to a Dave & Buster's. That's traumatizing. Too much for me. Can't handle it. So this guy pulls up to a Dave & Buster's, and apparently he told me later on that this was my reaction. I think I blacked out. But he told me that my reaction when we pulled up, I was in the middle of a sentence or something. I went, oh my God. And he's just like, what? I was like, oh my God. I was flabbergasted that we were at a Dave & Buster's. I could not believe it. The letters on the building were gigantic. I've said this on my social medias because I already posted kind of a little bit of content about this. My stomach, I'm quoting not Mean Girls here. Is it Mean Girls? Yeah. Mean Girls, where she says, I felt like my stomach was going to fall out of my butt. That's literally what it felt like. I thought I was going to die. I was like, okay. So I told him, I was just giggling. I could not stop laughing. And he's like, what? You're making me nervous. I'm scared now. I was like, nothing. It's fine. Fucking Dave & Buster's. I literally can't believe it right now. And he's like, what? And I was like, okay, listen. I'm kind of new to dating, and I've learned from past dates, yada, yada, and from my friends berating me to stop sharing so much information about myself right off the bat with someone. And I'm an oversharer. I'm very open. But I don't care. If you're not going to be okay with me being who I am and coming from the past that I have, and just being a genuine person, if you can't take me and all of me and my past and everything that I've been through and love me through it, accept me through it, then you're not the person for me. I just want to be real, and I want someone real and genuine as well. But my friends stop fucking telling them that you're divorced and that you were cheated on, and don't tell them anything. So I'm like, okay, let me just bite my tongue, and I'm not going to say anything about myself ever. Until 10 years from now. It's really hard for me to not that's something that people want to know. They're going on a date with someone. One of these guys that I dated in the past was kind of not okay with the fact that I was divorced. He's like, oh, so if we have a wedding and you walk down the aisle to me one day, I'm going to know that I'm not the first one. This is your second shot. This isn't your first wedding, and you're not enjoying that moment, that feeling with me. And I feel bad. So I'm yeah, guys should probably know that I'm divorced, but I'm trying to keep this information in. Mind you, my Facebook dating profile is really old, and I forgot that there's a prompt on there that says the worst job. Guys, I was not okay? I was not okay in the past. There's a prompt that says, what was the worst job you ever had? And my answer on my fucking Facebook dating profile says, the worst job I ever had, taking care of my home, my pets, and cooking and cleaning in lingerie for a husband who was cheating on me, with an upside down smiley face. So stupid, but that's what I have on my Facebook, and it does spark a lot of funny conversations. It's a good like conversation starter. And if they're not okay with it, then they're not okay with it. Like, you're not going to be able to handle my humor and stuff like that. But, like, that's legitimately what it says. And I forgot that that was on my profile. So I guess this guy technically already knew that I was divorced. So I'm, like, this whole time in the car, like, I'm not going to say shit. I'm not going to say shit. He's not going to know about John. I'm not going to tell him that I was, everything that I had been through. Nothing. Don't share anything traumatic. We're just going to have fun. But we fucking pull up to a Dave & Buster's, and I am deeply traumatized. So I just start giggling, and I was like, I can't tell him. So I tell him, I'm like, I am so sorry. I will tell you the story eventually. Just know I have to document this. I have to take a video right now and show that I'm at a Dave & Buster's. And he's like, okay. He was cool about it. He was like kind of laughing, but I could tell he like, oh my God, he was probably so in his head and like riddled with anxiety too. And I kept asking him throughout the night, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Are you anxious? I'm not going to be able to stop giggling. I'm really going to be giggling about it throughout the night, but I promise, like, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. We're just going to have fun. And I was like, and he was like, okay, well, I just don't want it to be something bad that's like in the back of your mind and it's going to take away from tonight. And I was like, that's so sweet of you to say. But also you too. Like, I didn't want it to be in the back of his mind and just distracting us all night. So I take a video of the car. He's like literally staring at me, watching me while I'm like taking a selfie of like Dave & Buster's, and I'm like laughing and giggling with him when we walk in. I'm like, I need to use the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom and I take some videos of like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna cry. What the fuck? I'm at a Dave & Buster's. I said I was never gonna be here. And I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit. We eventually dropped it and then got to know each other more. We had a fun time. I played a shit ton of Galaga. The games were fun, like Connect 4, basketball hoops and everything. Like, I'm good at those games. So, like, we just had a good time. And it was okay. He was chill about it. Eventually, we did get to know each other, and, like, he could not take it anymore. He was just very curious, and I couldn't hold it in because how am I going to approach this? Like, okay, I'm not going to say anything about these crazy situations of what I've been through. Let me just act normal. But then that fucking happens, and I'm like, listen. Eventually, when I told him the story, he wanted to know. He, like, pried it out of me, okay? And I told him I wasn't going to say anything, but the fact that I, like, kind of blacked out and I started saying, oh, my God, like, not only is it annoying to be like, I got to tell you something later, but you're going to have to wait. It's a surprise. Nobody likes that, okay? So I already feel like I had to tell him. And then I was like, so we're driving up to Dave & Buster's. I see the sign, and I was going to bite my tongue. And I told him, I could have just sat in the car and been like, oh, Dave & Buster's, oh my gosh, I've never been. This is going to be so much fun. But the way I reacted, like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. My emotions are on my face. So if I had just, like, bit my tongue and not said anything, I think it would have been worse. He would have been like, what's wrong with her? Like, she looks like she's on the verge of tears. She looks like she wants to cry. Did I do something wrong? Does she hate Dave & Buster's? Like, does she think this is lame, ghetto, something? I don't know. So, like, I feel like if I would have just not reacted at all and held it in, I would have been like, it would have been more obvious that something was wrong. So I just kept laughing it off. And eventually I did tell him bits and pieces of the story. So he understood, and he was like, oh shit, I'm really sorry. He apologized. He felt really bad. He's like, I'm so sorry I brought you somewhere that you hate. He's like, great, I've traumatized you on our first date. And it was really funny. Like, we laughed it off, and we had a great night for the rest of the night or whatever. But I'm just like, what are the fucking odds? So then I did ask him at one point. I was like, did you fucking search me on social media? Did you know? Did you really not have any? He's like, no, I had no idea. You said something competitive. So I was like, oh, Dave & Buster's. And I'm like, okay, that sounds right. But like, if you Google me, it's very easy to find everything. I have everything online. As soon as you see my Instagram, you got my link tree, you got my TikTok, Facebook, everything, podcasts. And I was like, fuck, I hope he didn't hear this story and was like, she's traumatized by Dave & Buster's? Well, not anymore. I'm going to make it a good time for her. She's going to like it now. Like, I was like, that could have been an option. This guy, like, was like, let me make Dave & Buster's good for her. But I'm still, like, riding this adrenaline high of, that was the last thing I expected. I could not believe it. I still can't believe it. I'm kind of like, I guess it's good for my healing or whatever, but also I'm kind of like a little bit salty. I'm like, now I can't fucking say that I've never been to a Dave & Buster's. My husband took that from me and traumatized me by it. And I said I was never going to fucking go, and I was going to stick by my decision. But what was I going to do? I told him, I was like, hey, at least I didn't start like sobbing, crying in front of you. And like, I can't be here. We can't do this. We have to go somewhere else. He had another portion of the date planned. We ended up going to a movie after that. Haven't gone to the movies in years either. So that was nice. I don't remember the last time I've been to the movie theater, but I told him, I was like, at least I didn't like react badly like in front of you to where like I looked traumatized, you know, and then made you leave. Like I would have been so embarrassed. But yeah, that I guess you can say was like my worst feeling of the week, but it turned into a fun experience. It was a good night. We had a good date, and I don't know, we got to know each other more. And I think this, like, I like to start relationships off by like a friendship, and I think that's kind of where it's at right now. Like I feel there's good conversation. We have a lot of similarities. We have a lot of same morals and things like that. And right now it's just like a good, like I can see a good solid friendship from it. And if something more comes from that, then we will see. But I just thought that was a crazy story. I could not fucking believe it. And so I wasn't expecting to share a lot of my past trauma and experiences with fucking Dave & Buster's on a first date, but, you know, let the chips fall where they may, as she says, and she's the man. So, anyways, how was your Thanksgiving? I hope it was a good one. Mine turned out great. I ended up having a little fun speed dating experience that turned into a first date that turned into a traumatic experience, but then turned out fine. All because I didn't go home for Christmas. Fuck Dave & Buster's. Oh my God. It was just crazy. So, sorry I don't have a guest for you this week or a longer episode. I just figured I would share a funny, triggering story. Some of the comments of like strangers that I don't know on internet that found me from All Insane are commenting, girl, oh my God, I'm triggered for you. Why are you at a Dave & Buster's? What are you doing at Dave & Buster's? Like, I posted on Instagram. If you know, you know. Like, I'm still in shock. Why Dave & Buster's? Why the... I felt so bad for this guy. He's like, okay, well, I got some other things planned up my sleeve or whatever. Hopefully you won't hate it as much as the first one. But we'll see where this goes. So far, he's a gentleman. He's very, very respectful. Doesn't try to like cross any lines or boundaries or whatever. And I can be a little bit like, I like dirty jokes and stuff like that. And like when I've let that little bits of me out, like just kind of messing with him to see if he could keep up, I could tell he can, but he's really holding back because he's like, listen, I don't want you to think like that's all I'm here for. Like I really am just trying to be respectful. And I'm like, well, that's refreshing. That is very refreshing. Good to know. Thank you. Thank you for being a respectful gentleman. And for bringing me to the worst possible fucking place you could have brought me in my life. But if it works out, it's going to be a hilarious story. I mean, the guy drove an hour to go on a speed date with me last minute and then traumatized me. Like, what else, how else was I supposed to have a meet cute, you know? Maybe, I don't know, maybe guys should ask like, hey, is there anywhere that like you absolutely do not want to go? Like, hey, I'm gonna surprise you, I'm gonna plan a date or whatever, but like, is there anything that's like off limits for you? Maybe ask, even though that would have sucked though, because what if he would have asked that and I was like, Dave & Buster's, I can't go to a Dave & Buster's. Then it would have been like, okay, what's the story? He's still gonna want to know, he's still gonna be curious, and I wouldn't have been able to experience a Dave & Buster's and made like a better memory out of it. I don't know, but I had a good time. That's all that matters. Another positive, I guess, to top all of that off is I'm still the high scorer on Galaga, you know, so I was kidding. I actually did really bad because I was distracted. I was disheveled. But I'll share a little screenshot right here of the picture that the freaking machine took of me by accident when we were playing Mario Kart. I guess it zooms in on your face and there's a camera, and like that's what you use as your little like the thing that floats above your head, like player one, and it takes a picture of you while you're playing Mario Kart. And I was like cracking up. I was like drinking and I was like laughing. In the middle of laughing, the thing takes a picture. I'm like, no, I wasn't ready. So I looked so dumb. And I took a picture on my phone of the screen when it took my profile picture for Mario Kart. But it was a good night. I had a good couple mango mojitos that reminded me of the beaches. And I felt like I was back in Mexico, which is weird because that's what I would order on my honeymoon in Mexico. So actually it reminded me of my honeymoon, but not in a weird way. It was good. I haven't had a mango mojito in a long time, okay? It was really good. Another good positive, I survived it. I'm here. Here we are. Another week. So I'm going to try to get a guest on for next week. If people will cooperate, we shall see. But yeah, I just wanted to get on here and tell you the story about my experiences with Dave & Buster's, and we'll see if we'll ever go back. Oh my God. I am going to do some self-loving and self-caring because that did stir up a lot of emotions, and I'm trying not to have an anxiety attack about going back home to Indiana, and I need a hot bath. So I'm here at the Airbnb getting ready to clean it, and then I'm going to hop in the tub, clean it again, and then leave and see where the wind blows me next. All right, guys, have fun at Dave & Buster's next time you go. Think of me, and don't forget to love yourself. Drink your water. I will keep reminding you guys, stay hydrated. Water is life. Don't forget to love yourself. I already said that. And then I said bye, puta. I'm so sorry. I'm literally all over the place because that was a lot. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Have a good week. Stay warm and be safe traveling for holidays and things like that. Okay, bye, puta.
So do